The day passed slowly. At long last, the mayor got up enough courage to peek outside. "Please let us go home," he called to the giant. "We're all hot and hungry." The giant smiled at the little man. "Hungry and hot," mumbled Gilbert, as he stroked his chin thoughtfully. "I'll fix that. I'm really not a mean giant. I'll show you. I'll get food for everyone." "Thank you," said the mayor. "What a nice thing to do." Gilbert stood up. 2 giant steps took him to a nearby farm. In a field was a crop of tomatoes. He scooped up a big bunch of plump, ripe tomatoes in his huge hands. "Soft, gushy tomatoes will be perfect," he chuckled, as he went back to the cave. "Come out, little people," called Gilbert, as he stood above the cave. "Come out! Lunch is served." The people slowly came out. They eyed the giant cautiously. He didn't look mean anymore. In fact, he looked rather jolly. He was grinning from ear to ear. Everyone smiled up at Gilbert. Then suddenly they saw something that made them shudder. "Oh no!" groaned the mayor. "What a mean trick to play!" Gilbert laughed and opened his hands. It began to rain tomatoes. Splat! Whump! Plop! Ripe, gushy tomatoes flew through the air. They dropped and plopped here and there. Tomatoes splattered all over the people below. "Hot and hungry, you said?" laughed Gilbert. "Now I'll get some water to cool you off." The nasty giant bounded over to the river. Cupping his hands, he dipped them into the water. Then he threw the water at the crowd near the cave. Splash! The downpour was terrible. Everyone ended up sticky, soggy, and sloppy. "Hee hee hee!" Gilbert laughed. "This is the most fun I've had in a long time." Away he walked, chuckling to himself. The people grumbled angrily as the giant walked away. "I wish I was bigger than that giant," said the blacksmith. "I'd teach him a lesson." "It would take magic to make you bigger than a giant," replied the baker. "And the only one who can work magic is a magician," said Timothy. Little did Gilbert realize that the stranger he saw sitting in the forest was no ordinary man. He was really a magician. "What an odd-looking fellow," said Gilbert, as he studied the man's long, dark robe and his tall, pointed hat. "I'll have some fun with him." Boom! Thump! Stomp! Gilbert's footsteps echoed through the woods as he approached the strange little man. But the man never stirred. He sat silently on a hollow log and paid no attention to the giant. "Hey, you!" thundered Gilbert. "Why don't you run away? Aren't you afraid of me?" The strange man looked up at the giant. "Why should I be afraid?" he asked calmly. "Why? Why? Because I'm so big. Gilbert roared. Then he raised a huge foot and held it above the man. You are nothing but an ant to me. I could squash you if I wanted to. Suddenly the stranger leaped to his feet. How dare you threaten Marvalo the magician, said the man. He lifted his arm and pointed a finger at the giant. On that finger was Marvalo's magic ring. You called me an ant, Marvalo shouted. Gilbert gulped nervously and lowered his foot to the ground. Perhaps you would be more mannerly if you were the size of an ant, said the magician. Marvalo made a magic sign with his hand. His ring began to glow a bright red color. Abracadabra, said the magician.